This is community television from Parsippany, New Jersey, Channel 3. We're video on the go.
Richards leads at first. Roxbury leads at third. Sherry turned around and threw to the second baseman to see if they might try to get in that pickle play again to try to suck the Vikings into that. Coach Tom Hill yelled down to Toby Richards and said, "Get back on base." So I guess if the Vikings are going to do it, they want to do it by themselves and not with the help of Roxbury. Trying it again. Ooh, close play over there. Sherry threw to the shortstop this time. He threw over to first. Richards just got back in time. Time is now called.
Roxbury obviously wants the Vikings to try that same play again. They've done that twice now, throwing the ball to the second baseman, trying to get the runner at first and a run down. But both times the Vikings have gotten back safe.
Has not been a pitch yet to Kevin Poskett. Toby Richards goes off at first, and they're trying it again. The throw home is in time this time, as didn't quite work the way the Vikings wanted it to.
Well, Roxbury obviously had that play figured. They went to second base twice, and the Vikings figured they might take them by surprise, but they didn't.
Didn't look like they had Richards in the pickle as long as they wanted it to, Al.
Well, the idea for that play is to get the second baseman to sprint at the runner on first base, and if the runner on third base goes home, the second baseman has to turn all the way around and then throw a strike to the catcher. And the idea is you get two perfect throws to get him out. If you don't have two perfect throws, you can end up scoring another run.
You're going to the bottom of the third inning. Parsippany Hills leads it 1-0. Sherry is pitching a one-hitter, although he has given up 4 walks. Dave Katz has not given up a hit in the ball game. I don't want to jinx him there, but
as you can see, the Vikings tried to score runs without any hits. Actually, that inning, they only had 1 hit. Everything else was created by walks. And they pride themselves on playing, as you would say, run and gun baseball.
Well, Roxbury obviously knew what the Vikings were going to do. In fact, they even tried to get the Vikings to try that same play again, and they didn't get to be the #1 team in Morris County by being fooled by the same play twice in 1 inning.
good point, Doug.
Thank you, Rob.
Sean O'Callahan will be the leadoff batter for Roxbury here in the bottom of the third. His team trailing by a run. O'Callahan, a lefty. Pitch high and outside for a ball. Count 1-0. Katz works quickly. Evens the count now at 1-1 with a good pitch there. Allie's throwing a lot of breaking balls in the game, not many fastballs.
That's the idea. If you start throwing fastballs, you might start getting some up. And with the lineup Roxbury does have, balls are going to start flying all over the field.
Count 2-1 to Sean O'Callahan.
O'Callahan, the 9th batter in the Roxbury order, so if he can get on base, they'll have the top of the order coming up.
Swing and a miss by O'Callahan. That evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Dave Katz gets the signs for the Vikings. He comes in with a 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
I believe that's the first strikeout for Dave Katz.
You're right, Doug. The first strikeout in the game for Katz, and I'm sure it's not going to be his last either. John Eberth will be the batter for Roxbury. here in the bottom of the third. There is one out. Eberth popped out to the first baseman his first time up. Or rather, the pitcher. Count 1-0. Catches the outside corner. That evens the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. And the 1-1 pitch. In the hole and out into left field. So John Eberth reaches on a base hit. He placed that ball beautifully just by the diving third baseman Jim Sanders and by the diving shortstop Scott Niven.
That's what you call a seeing eye base hit. Went right through the hole between the two diving infielders, and now Roxbury has a runner on.
That'll bring up Pat Togno, the right fielder. He walked his first time up and stole a base. Toby Richards holding Sean O'Callahan over at first. There's one out in the inning. And another lefty, Pat Togno. Pitch home. Hit in foul territory, popped up. Jim Sanders calls for it, and he makes the catch about a foot away from the line.
Jim Sanders was moving in. He was on the grass in the infield before that pitch, anticipating a bunt, but he got a pop-up instead.
With 2 outs in the bottom of the third inning, the batter for Roxbury, the number 3 hitter, the pitcher, number 5, Kevin Sheary.
That'll bring up Kevin Sheary. He walked his first time up.
Kevin Sheary, main attraction here at today's ball game. Many of the scouts I've personally talked to have said they've come here just to watch Kevin Sheary. They say that he has a fine fastball. They think he has the ability to play professional baseball.
For over to first. O'Callahan just gets back in time. There's 2 outs now. Runner at first. Pitch outside for a ball. Count 1-0. Runner going. Grounder to Sanders at third. Good pickup. The throw over to first in time. Fine play by Jimmy Sanders.
Sanders cut that ball off. Anytime a ball's going through the hole and the shortstop and third baseman both have a shot at the ball, third baseman's always supposed to cut it off and make the play to first base like Jim Sanders did just now.
Jimmy Sanders is another ball player coming back from an injury in the early season. He started spring training a little bit late. He had a shoulder injury and wasn't able to start playing till beginning of the regular season, and has been playing varsity ball for about the past 15 games. He's done a fine job at third base.
Kevin Poskett, who was the batter in that last sequence for the Vikings last inning, will lead off. I don't think there was a pitch thrown to him, was there, Doug?
No, there were 2 throws over to second base trying to get the Vikings in a rundown. The same play which they scored their run on. Then after that, the runner at first base took off, got in the rundown. The throw came to the plate to nail the sliding Kevin Poskett. Or no, not Kevin Poskett, sliding runner.
George Barshford.
Yeah, and he came home. He was tagged out and the inning ended. Poskett hasn't seen a pitch.
Poskett struck out his last time up. Sheary has 3 strikeouts in the game. He's given up 4 walks and 1 hit. For Dave Katz through 3 innings, he's walked 2, struck out 1, and given up 1 hit.
The Vikings trying to make it 2 years in a row to make the county finals. Last year they made it behind the strong pitching of Dave Katz, but were lost in the final to Madison Borough. It was a 15-5 verdict, and last year it was a surprise season for the Vikings. They snuck up on a lot of opponents, and this year they weren't able to surprised a lot of teams with their plays because a lot of teams already saw their plays. Tommy Hill's in his third year here as head coach for the Vikings and has installed many new plays since he's taken over.
Hill, one of the finest coaches in the area.
Very fine. He played at Morristown High School and was a fine ball player there, was a catcher. He played 4 years varsity for Morristown.
Pitch to Kevin Poskett. Check swing. Poskett looks like he has a good eye. Count is 1-0.
Tom Hill's assistant coach, Kevin Murray, and Coach Rizzo. Kevin Murray had also played baseball for Morristown High School and also was a fine ball player.
There's a shot in the gap. Will not get by the right field, or the left fielder rather. But Kevin Poskett gets a hit off of Kevin Sherry to lead off the top of the fourth, and the Vikings have a runner on.
Second hit of the game for the Vikings, and Dave Katz is coming up. In the Vikings' last game in Rahway, Dave Katz broke up a no-hitter with 2 outs in the 7th inning off Steve Williams, a pitcher for Rahway. Vikings lost that game 1-0. Ed Terzak pitched I believe a 3-hitter, but was unlucky with the wild pitch, 2 ground outs, and the Vikings lost that game 1-0.
Believe it or not, that's the second hit in a row for the Vikings. Continuing over from last inning. Dave Katz is the batter. Grounded back to the pitcher is first time.
As you can see, the Vikings are just trying to play for 1 run at a time. The past 3 times, in the first and third innings, they both got their leadoff man on, and they bunted both times.
Katz takes a strike.
Katz moving around as though to bunt. The first pitch he pulled back, and it was a ball. This time he didn't, and it's 1-1.
Count 1 ball, 1 strike to Dave Katz. Nobody out. Kevin Poskett, who singled, is at first base. Oh, and the bunt by Katz is fouled behind the plate. Makes the count 1-2. Sherry gets the sign, comes in with the 1-2 pitch. Perfect double play ball to short over to first in time.
Kevin Poskett did his best that time to try and take the second baseman out of the play, or the shortstop out of the play. But the ball was just hit in the right place for Roxbury for a double play, and there's nothing either one, Poskett or Katz, could do to stop the double play. So there's 2 outs and nobody on.
Surprisingly, the Vikings are hitting the ball very hard. It just happens that the shortstop's playing a couple feet to the right of second base. Because of the speed of Kevin Sherry, they don't feel that the batters can get around on the pitch. And it's making them very easy plays. Nine times out of 10, that ball that Dave Katz just hit is going to be a single up the middle. But they just apparently are playing it perfectly.
Scott Niven is the batter. He hit a 2-run homer against Livingston back at Viking Field a couple of weeks ago.
Counts 0-2 to Niven. This time with 2 outs and nobody on. He struck him out. Good pitch on the outside corner. And Niven's the 3rd out, and that's the 4th strikeout in the game for Sherry. He now has 4 walks and 4 strikeouts. So we get to the bottom of the 4th inning. The score, the Parsippany Hills Vikings 1, and the Roxbury Gales 0. As you know, or as you may not know, the Parsippany Hills girls softball team won the county tournament, and the Vikings are trying to be the first team in a long time to win both the softball and baseball county tournaments.
That sure would be something. Sherry with his 4th strikeout at the end of that last inning He's been getting behind his hitters. He's walked about 4, and it's cost him, but he's come back with his 4th strikeout.
There is a place right across from the tennis courts, right near the Roxbury School bus.
We are going to the bottom of the 4th inning with the Vikings ahead in this game 1-0. They scratched out their run in the 3rd inning. Dave Katz warming up for his 4th inning of work.
It's all meat up there, all meat.
We'll be back in a minute. I've just been told to move my car from the diner parking lot.
Bye, Rob.
I'll take over.
Bye, Rob.
Rob's running, trying to get back here for the bottom of the 4th inning.
He's also running so he doesn't get a parking ticket. No, it's about normal. Did you ever get that camera working down there?
No.
No.
There's definitely something wrong. It's got to go in the shop.
That's good. How are we doing with 2 cameras?
We're just doing it with one. The one is the one.
Oh, really?
But Malcolm.
Leading off for Roxbury in the bottom of the 4th inning, the cleanup hitter, the 3rd baseman, number 33, Ray Vanderhoof.
Oh, yeah.
See if I can get an extension.
Leading off for Roxbury, 3rd baseman Ray Vanderhoof. First pitch, low and outside for a ball. Ray Vanderhoof in the 1st inning flied out to the left fielder Rich Bell. Ground ball to the shortstop Scott Niven. Ball in the dirt, scooped by Toby Richards. But apparently it was too late and Ray was called safe.
Good play by Niven that time. He had a backhand the ball, lost his footing a little bit, made a good throw, but just not in time, and Roxbury has the leadoff runner on.
Number 45, Dave Ferrara.
Scott Niven, surprise starter, not because he wasn't doing well, but because he transferred from Boonton High School. He's been a big plus for the Vikings, not only with his fielding, but also with his bat.
Is that the lineup? How about their lineup? You have theirs? Huh?
Throw to the first base, Toby Richards.
If you have to write anything, you just go ahead and I'll wait for it.
Another throw to Toby Richards, still safe.
On radio.
TV.
What's the camera?
Apparently sitting next to us, we have a scout for the...
Sir?
Are you a scout, sir?
Yes.
Throw to second base, safe.
He got a good jump that time, an easy stolen base for Roxbury. Runner in scoring position now and nobody out. Rob Padero will be rejoining us momentarily. He's just moving his car.
Bunt. Dave Katz apparently going to go to first base, and he does. He's called out there. Greg Bartek, number 44, coming up to bat.
One out in the bottom of the 4th inning. The batter for Roxbury, the number 6 hitter, the designated hitter, number 44, Greg Bartek. Good job, Dave.
One out and a runner on third now for Roxbury. A golden opportunity for the Gales to tie up this game.
Tom Hill going out to the mound to talk to his infield, trying to plot some kind of strategy. The Vikings are trying to protect a 1-0 lead here in the bottom of the 4th inning.
That play in the 3rd inning looms pretty big now. That Viking play, after they scored the run on the pickoff play, when the runner on 3rd came home to score, they tried an exact similar play right after that, but they got thrown out, and that seems pretty big now with Roxbury. Has a good chance to tie up the game, and the first pitch is in there for a called strike 1.
Well, apparently the Vikings have confidence in the plays they use, and they felt they had more of a chance to score the run than getting a hit with 2 outs.
Yes, the Vikings have been very successful on that play this year.
When you come to play the Vikings, you have to come well prepared. They do many things. They squeeze, they sacrifice, they slash. They pull many plays with men on first and third.
You have to have a real sharp infield to keep the Viking runners from stealing and scoring and everything else.
Pitch by Dave Katz. Ground ball to third. A diving play by Jimmy Sanders. And the man on third base is scoring the run down. And he's safe at third base.
Stop the run.
A beautiful play by Jimmy Sanders at third base. He threw it home, caught the runner in a rundown, but the runner made it back to third base safe. Greg Bartek was safe at first base. John Napolitano coming up to bat for Roxbury.
Well, that time a beautiful play by Sanders, as he just said. The runner got caught napping off third. He had a little bit of a lead. The ball was hit so hard in the diving play as he dove towards the line. The runner was caught off base, and he was caught in a rundown, but he was lucky. He got back diving to third, so there's runners on first and third, one out. It's still 1-0, Parsippany Hills. Rob Tadero is now rejoining us. He had to move his car in fear of getting a ticket, and Rob is here back for the play-by-play.
Tell you, I had a hard time finding the parking space for that thing. Good bunt. Runner coming home. The throw home. He is out at home. A fine play. And the runner who came home is really mad.
Well, he almost got picked off last time. He came home again this time. A great play by Dave Katz, firing to the plate. And the Vikings got the runner, and they still lead 1-0. That was a very big play by the Vikings that time.
Apparently, nobody on the Roxbury side agreed with that. Everybody on the Roxbury side said he was safe. The Vikings side was very happy with that call. Saved a run for them. It was a quick play to jump off the mound by Dave Katz. Threw it home, Tony DeCandia. Made a beautiful play blocking the plate.
Roxbury now 2 outs. Runners on first and second. Tom Griffin, the catcher's at the plate. He grounded out to second his first time up.
So the Vikings sidestep a scare there. There's now 2 outs with runners at first and second. Count 1-1. Vikings still are not yet out of this.
No, they're not. Roxbury is a strong hitting team. Excuse me. They're a strong hitting team, as they showed the first 2 times they played the Vikings.
Good curve, but just a bit outside. The count 2 balls and 1 strike. The 2-1 pitch. A little short pop-up. Hit to Scott Niven, and he puts it away for the 3rd out of the inning. So the Vikings get out of it. Score after 4 complete now is the Vikings 1 and the Gales nothing. Sort of a knuckleball hit off the bat of Tom Griffin that time.
Yeah, it was. It had a funny spin on it. You could see from here. Niven moved up to the edge of the grass in the infield and made the play, so the Vikings get out of the inning. That was a very big play, that Katz play, where he threw it to the plate to get the runner. The Vikings still lead 1-0 as they come to the plate now in the top of the 5th inning.
Apparently on that squeeze play, Tony DeCandia, the Vikings catcher, made a great play of blocking the plate, and that must have been the reason the runner was called out.
DeCandia did do a nice job of blocking the plate.
So we go to the top of the 5th inning now. This would be a big win for the Vikings if they could defeat Roxbury. Roxbury has lost 3 games in a row, I believe.
Well, they lost 3 games in a row going into yesterday. I don't know what they did yesterday. They played Mount Olive. It rained, so it might have been postponed.
We're lucky to get this game in. It was postponed twice before we finally got the game played. It was supposed to be played last Saturday, May the 22nd. It was postponed. It was supposed to be played yesterday, and again the rain postponed it. But we're here today in the top of the fifth, starting the top of the fifth, with the Vikings having a 1-0 lead. And here's Rob Tadero again.
Thanks, Doug. Jim Sanders will lead it off.
Jimmy Sanders, third baseman, made a beautiful play on a diving ground ball. He kept the runner from scoring, which ended up in the attempted squeeze.
Yes, that was a run-saving play by Sanders, the third baseman. The ball was hit to his right. He had to dive and backhand the ball just in fair territory. They got the runner in a rundown. He dove back to third base safe, but then on the next play, he was thrown out.
I know, Al, I never saw a diving ground ball before.
It's a new term used, just been the rule book.
Only by you, Al. Here we go. Grounder foul by Sanders. He struck out his first time up. I'm sure the Vikings would love to settle for a 1-0 win, but I'm sure they're hoping to get some more runs on the scoreboard.
Shearer's been getting behind his hitters. He's walked 4, struck out 4. And this pitch is swung on and missed for a strike.
Counts 0-2 to Jim Sanders.
Apparently the Vikings have been working very hard this past week on hitting fast fastballs because they have been getting around on Kevin Sherry.
Here's a shot in the gap by Sanders. That's it a long way. It's going to the fence. Sanders rounds first. He goes into second. And he'll go into second base with a stand-up double. Good shot by Jim Sanders.
Well, he got around on that pitch. As Al just mentioned, they've been getting around the fastball. He pulled this one into the gap in left center field between the two outfielders, and he coasted into second base with a stand-up double. They have a runner in scoring position with nobody out, and Pat Ryan steps up to the plate.
Pat Ryan, the number 9 hitter for the Vikings. Sanders leads off second. Good bunt by Ryan. Ooh, that was close. He picked it up. It looked like he picked it up off the line. Didn't let it roll foul by too much.
Apparently, if it was called a fair ball, Jimmy Sanders was headed on his way home. There's nobody covering the plate as a first baseman, pitcher, and catcher all converged on the ball.
Had that ball going fair and Ryan gotten down the line, he might even have been safe with the first baseman, and nobody was covering first base.
But as it stands, it's a strike on Pat Ryan. And he'll attempt to bunt again. It's a low pitch, and he just got a piece of it to foul it off.
I doubt he'll be bunting now with 2 strikes and the runner on second. If the runner was on first base, he might still be bunting, but with the man on second, I'm pretty sure he'll be swinging away on this pitch.
But you never know what's up the sleeve of Tom Hill. He could have him bunting here, and he has him set. Takes a pitch high. The throw down to second with Sanders with a big lead, and he's safe. The Roxbury bench yelling, up and yelling, but did look like he did get in there ahead of the tag.
Yes, he did. The ball was there, but the tag wasn't, and he's safe. On that last play, on the pitch where Ryan pulled back after he offered for a bunt, the first baseman came charging in. He was running straight at him. Had Ryan hauled off and hit a ball at him, God knows what would have happened.
Ryan sets the bunt. First baseman charging again. The pitch low and outside for a ball. A count 2-2. Sherry, noticing that Ryan might be trying to bunt, is throwing his best curveball at the moment, but it's just going outside.
Apparently, Roxbury's still upset with the squeeze call. They're getting upset with every call the umps do make.
Count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ryan squares. And it's a good bunt. It could move him over. The throw. He's safe. Pat Ryan's safe at first base. Sherry picked up the ball, looked over to third, but saw he had no play. So he threw down the first. I don't know, I think Pat might have hurt himself before reaching first because it looked like he started to slow down. I think he might have pulled the hamstring possibly. And he tripped over the first baseman, which didn't help it at all if he did hurt himself.
Apparently, as hitting first base, he tripped over first base, trying to avoid the tag of the first baseman. He was pulled, the first baseman, Dave Ferrara, pulled off first base, tried to tag Pat as he ran by.
Well, that was a nice bunt right up the third base side. Long run for anybody to get it. The pitcher, Sherry, came off the mound, picked it up. He looked at third base. He hesitated on his throw to first. Then he had to rush the throw. Threw the ball high, pulled the first baseman off the bag. He tried to come down and tag Ryan, who dove into the base, and as Al said, he could have tripped over the base and pulled something. There's a pinch runner in the game for him right now.
I hate to correct you again, but Pat is in the game for the Vikings. Runners at first and third, nobody out. Good chance for the Vikings as Rich Bell is the batter. He takes a pitch high and outside. He's coming up to the meat of the order now. Bell, the number one hitter for the Vikings in the lineup, that is. He'll be followed by Jim Jansen, and then George Barchfried and Toby Richards.
Big chance right here for the Vikings. A close 1-0 game dominated by pitchers, and they're going to need a couple more runs.
That's a strike. Count 1-1. Sherry might find it tough pitching against Rich Bell. Bell not that tall, plus he goes into a low crouch when he's hitting.
Rich Bell is well known for working out walks.
Walk here, load the bases.
Count 1-1. Looked a little high, but the ump calls it a strike. Count is now 1-2. The Vikings would hope that Bell gets the ball in play. If you get the ball in play, something's got to happen.
Well, with less than 2 outs and a runner on third, just about anything's going to score him except a strikeout, a pop-up, or a hard line drive to an infielder.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Beautiful curve by Kevin Sherry.
If he had just made contact, I think the Vikings would have even settled for a double play. It would have gotten in another run. And all they're trying to do right now is just work one run at a time.
Al, you think they'll try that same play again where they have the first base runner get into a pickoff and try and score the man from third?
Well, there's only 1 out now. And I don't think they'll use it until there's 2 outs. And I think they have 2 chances to get a base hit. So I think they'd wait until they had 2 outs.
Interesting. Jim Sanders was charging home on the pitch there. It looked like they were just hoping to make contact and the run would have scored. Looks like a good play, the one they just did. As long as contact is made.
Yes, as long as contact is not made right up the third base line, it would have been a very effective play.
Jansen fouled it back. The count is 0-1. George Barchfried on deck for the Vikings. Sherry from the stretch. Throw back to third base. Pretty close to Jim Sanders there.
Pat Ryan advancing to second base on that throw down to third base. Apparently, Roxbury didn't know he was going, and he just took second base easily without even sliding.
Heads up base running by Pat Ryan. They threw to third to try and pick Sanders off. Ryan moves into scoring position. Now a base hit will give the Vikings a 3-0 lead.
I still don't think they noticed that he went down to second base. Jim Jansen strikes out. Kevin Sherry, although he was in trouble with first and third, nobody out, he has struck out the last 2 batters and has shown some poise.
Yes, he's starting to get the ball over the plate now, and the Viking hitters have been fooled on a couple of occasions, and sometimes he's just blowing the ball right by him. Now there's 2 outs and runners on second and third.
Looks like he's really snapping that curve out there right now, and George Barchfried fouls it off his foot and into foul territory.
Good place for it.
George Barchfried, only a junior and already a 2-year varsity player. Bit of pleasant surprise. Last year he batted .398 as a sophomore and made third team All-County. This year he hasn't been enjoying the same success, mainly due to his injury, but lately he's been on his chair and up to .375.
Ryan has a big lead off at second base, and the pitch is in there for a called strike.
The count's 0-2 to George Bartsfried. Two outs, Vikings with runners at second and third. I'm sure they would not like to come out of this inning with no runs being scored. Swing and a miss, he struck him out.
Well, that was a strong display by the pitcher Sherry that time in the inning. Excuse me. He had runners on first and third, nobody out, and came back to strike out the next three hitters, get out of the inning untouched. And it's still 1-0 Vikings as we move to the bottom of the fifth inning.
Kevin Sherry relying on what he does best, and that's striking out ball players. That's mainly what all the scouts here are to see. And he's doing a fine job. He's had trouble the first couple innings, but now he seems to be getting into a groove. And since the Vikings did have runners in scoring position most of that inning, they were trying to rip the ball, maybe try and hit a home run, to be exact. And they end up striking out. They swung at a lot of bad pitches.
7 strikeouts in the game for Kevin Sherry. He has not walked a batter since the third inning. Due up for Roxbury this inning, Sean O'Callahan, John Eberth, and Pat Togno. We go into the bottom of the fifth inning. Parsippany Hill still leading 1-0. With the inning that Dave Katz had last inning, he's hoping to go through a smooth one this time. And I'm sure the whole Viking team and Viking crowd will hope for the same.
They'll be fooled by Sean O'Callahan's size. If I remember correctly, he was a running back for the Roxbury football team, which also enjoyed a fine season. And he looks pretty strong.
O'Callahan, one of the few small people on the team for Roxbury. Got quite a large team. So the pitch by Katz is fouled back over our heads. This thing out of here. Counts 0-1 to Sean O'Callahan. You're right, Al, he was a running back for the Roxbury Gales football squad. The 0-1 pitch. Ooh! Hits him in the center of the back. And I'm sure Dave Katz did not want to do that.
No, he sure didn't. You don't want to get the leadoff man on base, and if there's any way you don't want to do it, it's hitting the man with the pin.
Sean O'Callahan has a lot of speed. You can expect him to try and steal second base and get a man in scoring position with nobody out. It is a fifth inning. It's getting late in the ball game, and they're going to try and score a run any way they can.
Come on, Johnny.
Throw over to first. Not in time. There's nobody out with a runner at first base. And the batter, John Eberth.
Apparently, Greg Bartek's listening up on the side. It's possible he might come in next inning to relieve Kevin Sherry, who has had his problems with his control. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Runner going to second. Throw is out into center field. But good backup by Kevin Poskett. I think a good throw might have had him out.
Well, apparently, the Vikings knew it was coming. Tony Kennedy, the catcher, called for a pitch out.
That's not what you want to have happen if you're on the Viking side here.
That's apparent.
Very.
So the count's 1 ball and no strikes to John Eberth. He singled back in the third inning. Runner at second base. Vikings in another jam here. Bad bunt caught by throw to second, not in time. The throw is dropped by Scott Niven. Toby Richards came charging in at first base, and John Eberth kind of got a hold of that pitch while bunting it. Richards caught it for the out. Threw down to second base. It was not in time. That'll bring up Pat Togno with one out and a runner still at second base.
That's the one thing you want to do when you're bunting. When you're bunting, all you want to do is get the ball on the ground and advance the runner at second. Now instead of having a runner at third base and one out, you still have a man at second base and one out, and you actually just wasted a batter.
Pitch was in there for a called strike.
The 0-1 pitch is popped up. Sanders goes near the line and makes the catch. Refer to the line that separates a ball being in play to a ball being out of play. And sometimes you have to kind of tightrope that line to make sure you've caught the ball in play.
Yeah, you do, kind of like a football player keeping his feet in bounds to make a catch. That's sort of what you have to do when you go over near that line so the catch counts.
The number 3 hitter, the pitcher, number 5, Kevin Sheary.
Tom Hill making sure he knows how many times he has gone out to the mound to talk to Dave Katz. Second time. Third time, if I'm right, you must take the pitcher out. Am I not, Rob?
Could be, Al. Two outs, and the batter, Kevin Sheary. He takes a called strike. So it's pitcher against pitcher here. Runner at second base. Two outs. Curve just a little outside. Count even now at 1-1.
Well, 2 outs and a runner on second base.
Throw it to second. Close.
Yes, he had a dive back in there, that head first dive. Pete Rose style, how to get back.
The 1-1 pitch. Low for ball 2.
Roxbury trying to build a run here, trying to tie the game in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Sheary walked his first time up. He grounds one back to Katz, who drops it. He throws over to first in time, and the Vikings are out of the inning.
No runs, no hits. I believe there was a hit. Yes, there was a hit to Batman, and one man left at second base. So we go to the 6th inning with the Vikings ahead 1-0. On that last play, the ball's hit back at Katz. He knocked it down, stopped it. Then he came down off the mound and threw a perfect strike over to first base to retire the side.
So the Vikings have 2 more innings in which to stop or rather 1 more inning in which to stop the Roxbury Gales and advance to the finals. But they still have that 1 inning left. Right now, they're batting here in the top of the 6th.
Vikings, once again, trying to build on that 1-run lead. They scratched out their run in the 3rd inning with runners on first and third. They had the runner on first get into a rundown, enabling the runner on third base to come home and score. That's been the only scoring in the game. Roxbury had a threat in the bottom of the 4th inning, I believe it was. They had a runner on third base, and there's a ball knocked out in front of the plate. The pitcher, Katz, came down off the mound, Dave Katz. He fired the ball to the plate, and they got the runner coming home from third base.
At this point in the ballgame, that was the only possible chance Roxbury has had to score. Apparently they're pitching, excuse me, I know I do use that word apparently a lot, but Rob, what other words should I use?
Don't say anything. I was correct myself here. I said there was only 1 at-bat left for the Roxbury Gales, but they do have 2 at-bats left.
Rob will be taking advanced math next year, so we don't have to live with that.
See, Rob, we all do make mistakes, some more than others.
Don't be looking at Doug when you say that out. Toby Richards leads it off here in the top of the sixth for the Vikings. Pitch is high and outside. Richards struck out and singled. Good curve by Sherry. Count is 1 ball and 1 strike to Toby Richards, the first baseman.
Vikings trying to get that leadoff man on. The percentage of scoring runs in an inning increases when you get the first man on.
Swing and a miss by Richards. The count is now 1-2.
Many of the high school coaches here, as I look around, Coach Harry Chattel, Morristown High School, Coach McPete from Parsippany High School, JV coach there. Also, junior varsity coach at Morristown High School is present.
Here's a high fly ball into fairly deep left field. O'Callahan back up to the fence, and he makes the catch.
One-handed grab that time by the lefty O'Callahan. That ball was hit a long way by Toby Richards. It sailed to left center where O'Callahan pulled it in, and there's one out.
O'Callahan caught it a few feet in front of the 335 sign out there.
That ball was hit a long way, so there's one out, nobody on. Kevin Poskett coming up to the plate. Poskett has struck out and singled in his first 2 times up.
Sherry looks in, gets a sign, and the pitch grounded in the hole and out into left field for a base hit. Poskett is 2 for 3 in the ball game.
It's the second time he's placed a base hit perfectly between the third baseman and the shortstop. Again, a seeing eye base hit.
I think that maybe since Roxbury's seeing that the Vikings are getting around on Sherry, they might move the shortstop back to where shortstop would normally play. He's playing well over towards second base right now.
Yeah, they had him closer to third before, but they've moved him over, seeing that the Vikings like to steal and bunt a lot. They move him towards second base.
So Poskett leads off at first. High fly ball, looks like it's curving foul. It was in foul territory. O'Callahan made a fine play diving for it. I don't think he noticed the bushes and landscape work out there.
Obviously not. I don't think it would have counted had he made the catch. That line you referred to earlier where a ball is officially out of play, he was past that line when he dove into the bush.
He actually dove over a ditch. Fine, gallant effort by Sean Callahan.
Count is 0-1 to Dave Katz. Poskett at first base with 1 out. Curve is low and in the dirt. The count is even now at 1-1.
Seems though the Vikings have been working this week hard on Sherry. They have been getting around on him, and they're not going for slow pitches, which end up turning into curves.
Hard ground ball to short. Thrower to second for 1, back to first. Double play. Another double play ball for Roxbury.
Second double play of the game for Roxbury. The first one was hit in such a position that it was tailor-made double play, but this time the ball's hit so hard that he didn't have time to get down the line, and they converted the double play to end the inning.
6-4-3 double play, and ironically, both double plays have been hit by Dave Katz.
Seems so Dave, aside from his pitching, is having pretty bad luck at the plate today. He's hit 2 hard ground balls, and right at the shortstop both times. Most likely, both those balls would have been hits.
You can recreate it.
All right, we go into the bottom of the 6th inning now. Vikings still clinging to a 1-0 lead.
Apparently, the Roxbury fans are still angry with the calls made by the umpires. As a fan just walked by, they just replied, We don't only have to fight them, we have to fight the umpires too.
I didn't hear that. Did you, Doug?
No, I didn't. The umpires have been making some good calls, though. The Roxbury people were a little upset at the first couple calls at home plate, both going in favor of the Vikings, but overall, the umpires have been calling them correctly.
At least from the Viking point of view, right, Doug?
Sure.
Due up for Roxbury here in the bottom of the 6th inning, Ray Vanderhoof, Dave Ferrara, and Greg Bartek.
Hey, again, Al, when you're winning, nobody's wrong, right?
As long as I'm winning, everybody's right.
For Roxbury, in the bottom of the 6th inning, the cleanup hitter, number 33, the third baseman, Ray Vanderhoof.
So Ray Vanderhoof leads it off for the Roxbury Gales. Dave Katz still on the mound for the Vikings, pitching a fine game.
Come on, Rick. Come on, babe. Go Rick there.
Curve outside for a ball. Katz pitching a one-hitter so far.
That one hit was a bouncing ball between the shortstop, Niven, and the third baseman, Sanders. Both dove for the ball, but it squeezed on through. That's the only time Roxbury has been on with a hit.
Ball 3. He has walked 4 batters, has Dave Katz. And the count right now is 3 balls and no strikes. And that's ball 4.
Well, the leadoff runner's on for Roxbury. 5th walk of the game for Dave Katz. He's going to try and stay out of trouble in this 6th inning with a 1-run lead. You can't afford to give up too many base runs, especially walks and hit batsmen.
Looks as though Dave Katz doesn't just want to put the ball over the plate, hoping to get someone having hit the ball, because Roxbury is a fine hitting team. He's trying to pinpoint the ball every time. And he has walked many men so far today. None have hurt him.
But they've come close, though.
Well, with a little help, little luck, they still have a 1-0 lead.
Dave Ferrara, the batter. Nobody out. Runner at first base.
Whitey Turzak, the Vikings relief pitcher, is starting to warm up with Mike Jones for the Vikings. They feel Dave Katz might be getting a little tired right now. They just want to have someone ready just in case they need him.
The count is 0-1 on Dave Ferrara. Quick throw by Katz over to first, not in time.
Trying to keep that runner close. You don't want him to sneak into scoring position where one base hit will tie the game up.
Katz steps off the rubber. And the 0-1 pitch is hit into right field. Bartsfried gets under it, and he puts it away for out number 1.
Looks as though Roxbury, man at first base, is trying to shake up Dave Katz. Looks like he's trying to get a jump start. Looks as though he's trying to steal.
The number 6 hitter, the designated hitter, number 44.
That'll bring up the DH, Greg Bartek.
Come on, Greg.
I'm sure Dave Katz would not want to groove one to Bartek. It looks like he could hit the ball a mile.
Well, he's made the newspaper many times. He's had many 2-hit games. And just looking at him, I'd be scared to pitch to him.
Foul tip by Bartek that time, held on by Tony DeCandia behind the plate. The count is 0-1. Ray Vanderhoof is the runner at first base. There's 1 out. We're here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Score is 1-0. This is Rob Tadero along with Al Friedman and Doug Basile.
And your razor, too.
I know. Runner going, the throw by DeCandia down to second, a good throw, and he's safe.
That was a close play. It was a strong throw by DeCandia, and the tag was not applied in time. The ball was certainly there in time.
Beautiful call by the Vikings. Once again, they call for the pitch out, and the runner was going. It's a beautiful throw down to second. It just looks as though the runner was just too fast.
Count 1-1, one out. Runner at second base. Pitch is high, 2-1. Things seem to be getting worse here for the Vikings, Doug.
Yeah, they've been getting a lot of bad breaks. Roxbury's upset about the umpire calls, but they seem to be getting a lot of good breaks, and it takes some strong Viking defense to hold them scoreless so far.
Popped back right next to us. And landed about 10 feet away from us.
Next time I'm going to wear a batting helmet when we come.
Come on, Greg.
This would be a... Sorry, Doug, go ahead.
No big deal. Just one of the scouts over there almost got himself a Mohegan haircut.
This could be a big strikeout for Katz if he can get him here. The count's 2-2. The pitch hit high and foul, and nobody's going to chase after it. That's on the basketball courts. Or close to it. Almost hit
Pat Ryan, his father, second baseman for the Vikings, tries to make the play on the foul ball.
Actually, he tried to make self-defense there. Bounced in front of him about a foot, and it kind of jumped out of the way.
Came close to getting 2 points with that one.
Count remains 2-2. And the pitch fouled back to the screen.
Stay with it, Greg.
That's 3 consecutive foul balls. He's just fouling them off to stay alive, and everybody in the air, everybody in the area has to scramble to stay alive.
Once again, the 2-2 pitch by Katz as he checks the runner at second base. High fly ball in the straightaway center. Poskett calls for it and makes the catch. That's out number 2 in the inning, and the Vikings are close to getting out of another one.
2 fly balls to the outfield have been the outs. The first out was a fly ball to right. This one more of a pop-up to center field that Poskett moved under and caught. 3 men going out there. Poskett called them both off and made the catch.
Roxbury has been popping the ball up many times so far today. And when you're popping the ball up, it either means you're late or you're lunging at the ball. And apparently that time he did lunge at the ball. Try to knock the ball out of the park and just hit a weak fly ball.
So with 2 outs, that brings up John Napolitano. Throw over to second base, not in time. The runner at second is Ray Vanderhoof. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning. The pitch is low. Count 1 ball and no strikes to Napolitano.
Katz doesn't want to keep getting behind the hitters. 2 outs, runner on second base. He's going to be careful. Doesn't want to give him anything good to hit that would score a run.
Pitch by Katz, swing and a miss.
Stay with it, John.
Count evened up now.
The 1-1 pitch by Katz. A fine play by Pat Ryan, diving to throw over to first in time, and the Vikings are out of the inning. Pat Ryan with a beautiful play to save a run there.
Yeah, that had base hit written all over it. It was heading for center field. Ryan dove, backhanded the ball, got up and made a good throw over to first base to end the inning.
One man left on base.
Vikings making some heck of a play. They got to make all these plays just to stay in the game and keep a 1-0 lead from getting away from them. If they can get some more runs here, it'd be a great help to them. They have 3 more outs to go.
Sometimes you win with pitching, sometimes you win with defense, others with just outscoring your opponent, sometimes 10-9, but the Vikings getting both pitching and fielding in this game.
Yes, earlier Jim Jansen at third base, or rather Dave Sanders at third base, had to dive for a ball, backhanded, and he saved a run. They didn't get an out on that play, but they saved a run. This time Pat Ryan dove for the ball, and he saved another run. This time he got the out and ended the inning. So we go to the 7th inning with the Vikings still ahead 1-0.
We go into the top of the 7th inning. Vikings still with a 1-0. We go into the top of the 7th inning. Vikings still with a 1-0 lead. And I'd love to see the headlines in the Ledger and the Record if the Vikings should win 1-0.
Well, it certainly would make headlines. The Roxbury Gales coming into today's game with a record of 14 wins, 4 losses, and a tie. The #1 team in Morris County. And if the Vikings could beat them here, it sure would be some story.
The Vikings themselves have moved high up in the county rankings, and if they should beat Roxbury here, they may just move close to #1 and possibly be #1.
Well, earlier in the season, they were rated #3 in the county. They had their problems. They lost 4 in a row at one point. Then they just started trading win for loss. And it appears today they're getting back into their normal groove of playing a fine defensive ball game.
Scott Niven is the batter. He has a count of 1-1. Sheary looking in for the next pitch.
He struck him. The pitch looked a little low, but Scott Niven called out. It seemed like he's got a consistent strike zone, not to get on the umpire. All he has called a fine game. But it looks like he has called high and low strikes today.
Yes, he has. It's a very big strike zone for both Sheary and Dave Katz. They've both been getting a lot of strikes that could go either way.
Jim Sanders takes a pitch inside for a ball. Kevin Sheary still on the mound for the Roxbury Gales. And here's a shot in the gap again by Jim Sanders. And that's off the base of the fence. Sanders rounds first. He goes into second. It's going to be, well, it would have been a close play if the throw was online, but it was offline. And Jim Sanders goes in with his second double of the game. And he's hit some shots today.
He missed that he missed a home run by about 5 inches, Rob. He's really ripping the ball today. I don't think he complained about that shot.
He's been hitting the ball well. He's been getting around on Sheary's pitches, pulling the ball. Second time he's hit it to left center field. This time he hit the wall on the fly, hit the fence on the fly, and he had a run really to stretch it into a double. The throw is offline.
Pat Ryan fouls it back. Vikings are in a position that they were in back in the 4th inning, the 3rd inning, something like that.
It was the 4th inning, Rob. They scored in the 3rd.
It was the 3rd inning, Doug. Both times happened in the 3rd inning.
Well, you said yourself, we all make mistakes at one point or another, and this is mine.
But anyhow, Swing and a miss by Ryan. Sanders going to third. He is out.
Well, Sanders didn't have a very good jump that time. The throw down to third base, and he was out by wide margin.
Thought he could advance on the ball that got away from the catcher. I don't really think Aller was a smart play to do. They did have a chance with nobody out to possibly get a run, and an insurance run, but...
Well, the idea is he's already in scoring position, and why risk trying to get to third base on a ball just in front of the catcher? But he had a great lead at second base. He felt he could make third base, but the catcher just made a fine throw.
The count's 0-2 to Pat Ryan with one out. Here in the top of the seventh inning, nobody on now. And Ryan smacks one into the B field here at Smithfield.
The B field where the Parsippany Hills girls softball team took the Morris County Tournament Championship 3 years in a row.
By destroying Whippany Park. Foul back. Avenging for that loss against Parsippany, and I don't know about you, Doug, but that kind of brought me down seeing the Vikings lose, ending a 44-game winning streak, one of the longest in the nation. They were 6 games away from setting a record.
Yeah, well, it was, disappointing to see them come down so close to the record without doing it. I was at the softball game against Roxbury, in fact, when they won their 44th straight, but the next day they lost.
Foul ball out of play. Cedar Grove had the longest winning streak in the state. They had a 48-game winning streak, and the record in the country was 49. So I was told.
Vikings did come back, the softball team, to win the Morris County tournament behind the pitching of Joanne Ferrari.
They beat Whippany Park 9-3 to win the championship, and as Al said, for the 3rd straight year. And here in the Morris County tournament for baseball, we're in the top of the 7th inning. The count is 1 ball and 2 strikes to Pat Ryan. Vikings leading 1-0. Kevin Sherry on the mound for Roxbury. His 1-2 pitch. Another foul ball. Pat Ryan doing good to stay alive here.
Yes, he is. He's fouled a couple off. He hit one into the Little League field before. Hit another one down the line, fouled one off. If nothing else, he's making Sherry throw a lot of pitches. Still 2 strikes on Ryan. He steps in again.
Once again, Sherry with the 1-2 pitch. Here's a shot hit into shallow center. And the center fielder calls for it and makes the catch for out number 3.
Today there is a disappointing crowd, mainly because the game was scheduled for this past Saturday night, May 22nd. The game was rained out. It was rescheduled for Monday night, and it was rained out. And since it is a day game, many people are still at work, missing the game. In the past, they've attracted a couple thousand people to these semifinals and finals.
Well, the game was on such short notice for most people to hear about it. Most people heard about it from word of mouth. And it was an odd starting time, 3 o'clock.
I only found out about the game in this morning's newspaper. I saw it. Seeing it was postponed yesterday, I knew that, but I had no idea when they were rescheduling the game, and that's the reason why we don't have a lot more people than we do here.
They would be playing it tonight, but would you believe they would not postpone a Babe Ruth game to play this one?
That's kind of hard to believe, a Babe Ruth game.
High school is much more important than any kind of Babe Ruth baseball game.
Well, if I had my choice, I would have scheduled it for 8 o'clock. They're trying to get this game in so that they could have the finals this Saturday.
I'm sure though if the Vikings do win this game, they'll have no bitterness towards the schedule makers for Smithfield.
We're ready to go in the bottom of the 7th inning. Roxbury has to score now to at least send us into an extra inning.
Leading off for Roxbury in the bottom of the 7th inning, the number 8 hitter, the catcher, number 29, Tom Griffin. Come on, Tom.
Leading off for the Roxbury Gales here in the bottom of the 7th inning is Tom Griffin, the number 8 hitter. He'll be followed by Sean O'Callahan, and to the top of the order with John Eberth.
Key man of the inning is to get the first man out. You get the first man out, you really can't sacrifice anybody because you'll still have 2 outs and only 1 chance to get a hit.
Pitch was low and outside by Katz. The count is 1-0.
Katz trying to complete this game. Cheery also pitched 7 full innings. We might have to go to another one for Roxbury scores. But 2 complete games here between Katz and Kevin Cheery.
Dave Katz sort of reminded me of Don Stanhouse of the Orioles. Comes in for relief, although Katz has played the whole game. Stanhouse always comes in and gets himself in a whole heap of trouble, but always gets out of it. It kind of leaves people sitting on their hands and biting their nails. Not at the same time.
Hopefully not. Neil Allen of the Mets was doing that a lot last year.
The count is 3-1 to Tom Griffin.
Well, he is showing a lot of ability today. He's showing he has a poise. This is his 2nd year of varsity, and last year he was also the number 1 starting pitcher for the Vikings.
There's a shot hit into straightaway center. Poskett going back, and he makes the catch. A fine running catch by Kevin Poskett out in center field.
That was a fine running catch. One-handed, backhand catch. He had to move out for the ball, and it's always tougher to go back for the ball than it is to come in. That ball was hit a long way, but Poskett ran it down and made a fine one-handed catch.
Sean O'Callahan.
Sean O'Callahan coming back. He was hit by a pitch in the 6th inning. The 5th inning, excuse me.
It was running towards the 350 sign was Kevin Poskett. There's 1 out now. A big out for Katz. He was down 3-0 to that batter. Swing and a miss by Sean O'Callahan, and the Viking crowd is now all the way behind Dave Katz. They were the whole game, but they're now being more boisterous.
As we said just a couple minutes ago, it hasn't been too big a crowd. It hasn't really been much of a lively crowd either.
Swing and a miss by O'Callahan. Count is now 0-2. Katz has not thrown much heat in the game. See if he comes in with a fastball this time. Time is called as Sean O'Callahan talks with his 3rd base coach. Vikings 2 outs away from advancing to the finals and playing Pequannock.
Vikings, as we said earlier, made the finals last year, but were turned away by Madison Borough.
But as I say, Rob, don't count
your chickens before they're hatched, Al.
Thanks, Rob.
Pitch high and outside. The count 1-2.
What?
Looks as though Dave Katz is trying to overpower each hitter, and he's becoming wild. He's throwing 2 straight balls to Sean O'Callahan, number 9 hitter.
The count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. The 2-2 pitch, fouled back.
But I've been trying to plot out a regular schedule. In the summer, it's going to be easier.
American Legion.
You're welcome to. We got to do live, but
And the 2-2 pitch by Katz. Ooh, just low. The count is full now. And we'll see if Cats can work something here and hopefully strike out Sean O'Callahan. Vikings will settle for an out. But it'd be good to see a strikeout. The 3-2 pitch. High and outside, ball 4.
Well, that was a big play right there. The Vikings still have a lead, and with one out, there's a base run the tying run for the Roxbury Gales.
Right now, Dave Katz, all he really wants to do is put the ball over the plate, let it get hit somewhere, and let his fielders make the play. They've made 3 beautiful plays that each have all saved runs today.
That's right. Without the defense of Jim Sanders and Pat Ryan, they could be losing.
Here's a high fly ball to deep left field. It's stuck into the fence. Pulled out by Richie Bell. The throw home. He's safe. Roxbury has tied it up.
Well, we could see extra innings now. The fans are going crazy. If you haven't noticed, we are on the Roxbury side of the field.
Tom Hill hoping to get a play call here because the ball was clearly stuck in the fence. Rich Bell had to dig it out, and I think that was the time that they needed, or else he would have been out at home plate if it was not stuck in the fence.
Definitely, that ball was stuck under the fence. It took him an extra second or two to get the ball out from under the fence, and that was the difference to the play at home plate, and that's what Tom Hill
And I think the Vikings have gotten the call. I think they're going to put the runner back on third base. You could clearly see that the ball was stuck. It hit and didn't even budge. It got stuck underneath the fence. Rich Bell was trying to pull it away, finally got to it, threw to the cutoff man. The cutoff man threw it home, and the runner slid in just under the tag a few seconds, maybe about a second before the tag, and that was just the time that Parsippany Hills would have needed if the ball had not been stuck in the fence.
Well, you can see on your screen now the umpires meeting out in the infield. I think it was a good call, the right call, the call they just changed.
If it's final. I don't know if they're talking it over now.
It's still not final. But this is very important. The semifinal round of the Morris County tournament, 9th inning. It's 7th inning, make that. I'm used to Major League Baseball. Still, it's the difference between a win or a tie for the Vikings, and it's a very important decision.
So what's the announcement tonight? Tell us what happened.
Doesn't look like... Yes, they're sending him back to third. Big break. I was going to say big break for the Vikings, but really that was the right call. Don't want to say it was controversial. You know, maybe I might have a different view if it happened against Roxbury, but it clearly was stuck in the fence, though.
It definitely was stuck in the fence. I think it was the right call, and the Roxbury people were upset with the umpires before. Right now, they are downright furious. One of the players started walking onto the field, but he's back onto the bench. The game still hasn't started yet. We should be getting underway again in a couple of minutes, but that is a very big play.
A single right now will still tie the game up and possibly give Roxbury the win. If Dave Cass can get it out here, it'll be a really big boost for the Vikings. And to tell you the truth, there's not pressure on any one person, but there's pressure on every ball player right now and involved in the game.
You said it, Al. Any error right now in the field could cost them the ball game very easily.
The Vikings, even though the runners were sent back to second and third, are still not out of it. There is only one out with runners at second and third, and Dave Katz hoping for something. You think, Doug, that they might walk the batter here to kind of get the four double play?
I think so. It would, if nothing else, set up the double play, but it could also set up a force play at the plate. That way, if there's a ground ball hit and they might not be able to get to, they can always come to the plate and get the force, and maybe even a double play throwing it back to first. It's a definite possibility that they would walk the next batter to load the bases.
It's okay to go yay and boo, but I mean, we are not a percentage.
We got some people behind us who, frankly, are being a bunch of sore sports about it. I could use some heftier words, but I'll stick to that.
Lincoln Seiler is the pinch hitter for the Roxbury Gales. He will be pinch hitting for, I believe,
John Ebert was the scheduled batter. Runners at second and third with one out. A bunt is popped up. Jim Sanders calls for it. He makes the catch. Vikings are one out away, but they're still not out of it. Jim Sanders with a fine play. Bad bunt by Lincoln Seaberth there.
That was a very big play for the Vikings. They're down to the last out, and now you don't have to worry about force plays or anything else. The play goes to first base, and if they make it, the game is over and the Vikings will advance.
But I've seen many times with runners at second and third, and it looks like a team's going to get out of the inning, and the team comes up with a base hit, and the Vikings can ill afford to give up a base hit right now. Runners at second and third, and the batter, Pat Togno.
It looks as though they had a safety squeeze on the man on third base. Didn't bunt, didn't run to home until he saw where the ball was, and immediately he went back to third base. If it was a regular squeeze, the runner at third would have been out for not tagging up.
So the two-out pitch. High fly ball hit in the gap, hit deep. Kevin Posca calls for it. He makes the catch, and the Vikings have won the ball game. They've beaten Roxbury 1-0. The Roxbury crowd and bench are stunned.
That has got to be the biggest win for the Vikings in a long, long time. They have just upset the #1 team in Morris County 1-0 in the semifinal round of the tournament.
And now most of the crowd is saying they were cheated and they've been ripped off, but clearly was a good call by the umpires. You can't say they were wrong or they were right, but it was a good call. The Viking crowd giving a standing ovation to the Parsippany Hills team right now.
As you can see in center field, they just raised Dave Katz, the winning pitcher in the game. If anything was ever called a cliffhanger, this definitely was a cliffhanger of a ball game.
Dave Katz's record now is 7-0.
The Vikings will play their final Morris County Tournament final against Pequannock May 29th. That's a Saturday at 8 o'clock here at Smith Field. Pequannock was 11th seeded during the regular season.
Players shaking hands now. It's good to see that.
Well, the Roxbury bench, the players were definitely upset. I mean, you can't blame them because they really did think they had the run scored. They thought they had the game tied up with the runner on third. Then the umpires changed the call. Not saying the umpires were wrong. They were right. It was a good call. But you can really see why the Roxbury people would be disappointed. But on the other side, a very big win for the Vikings.
None of the crowd has moved as far as Roxbury is concerned. They're standing there stunned.
They're still getting on the umpires, the Roxbury crowd is. They're still very upset any time in a ball game when a team loses a close game like this. And there are close plays which could have turned the game around. They will get on the umps. And they're just trying to get rid of all their frustration.
Tony.
Well, you can see the Viking crowd and the Viking players. The crowd, as Rob said, hasn't moved. They gave the Vikings a standing ovation, and there's no question Saturday night they will be back, and there will be a lot more people here. Smithfield, Saturday night, May 29th.
So Dave Katz with a record of 7-0-1, having a fine season. He is a senior. Kevin Sheary has been having some trouble as of late, but he has still had a fine season for Roxbury. So the Vikings will now move on to play Pequannock in the finals of the Morris County Tournament.
Pequannock, a team the Vikings beat last year in the first round of the county tournament. And I'm sure they're going to be up for that game. But the big question is, Rod, that will Dave Katz be able to come back with 3 days rest and pitch a good game? They do have Ed Terzak, who is a second man in the rotation, who's a really fine pitcher to pitch. And I guess it's up with the Katz if his arm feels up to it.
Seems like he threw a lot of pitches in today's game. But Turzak, as you said, is a fine pitcher. In the state final, or rather the state playoff game against Rahway, he did pitch a 3-hitter. Vikings came up short 1-0 in that game.
Well, today Dave Katz did throw a lot of pitches. He walked 5 men, I believe. He struck out 4. That's a lot of pitches right there. And Roxbury did have a lot of men on base. They didn't score, but they had a lot of men on. Even in that last inning, it was a long time, a lot of delays, and there were a lot of pitches thrown by Dave Katz. And in 3 days, I don't know if he's going to be ready to pitch or not.
I'm sure that if most of these close plays went the Roxbury way, the Viking fans would be very upset. And they'd be in the same position Roxbury is now if they did lose the game. And Roxbury won.